Hey y'all, this is Cyndee. I'm the Tireless Tangler. I want to welcome you back to part 3 of our Fall ZIA creation series. This is the part where we're finally putting some watercolor on the paper, and so I hope you'll stick around and have some fun with us. So thanks for coming back and hanging out. This is going to be a fun video. Some of it will be sped up, and the first thing I want you to do is grab your white colored pencil. If it is a Prismacolor like mine, then you'll be good to go, and if it's some other kind, that'll work too. We're going to use that as a resist to the watercolor, and so the first thing I want you to do is go through each one of these leaves, and I want you to add in a nice thick layer of white pencil where you feel like any kind of a highlight would go. Okay, so I'm mostly putting mine in around the center of each leaf. I'm not going to try to make it complex. And what this does is it just preserves the part of the leaf where I want to save it for a highlight. And so we're definitely, by definition, going to get watercolor everywhere. And so this makes it easy for us to pick up some of that extra color and leave a nice bright middle for each of these leaves. So don't be stingy. Now you don't want to cover the whole thing, but just a nice thick layer somewhere around the center, and you'll see it will blend very nicely and work really well. Okay, so this, I believe I may speed up here in a moment, but this is, you can't see anything on this part, so yeah, there you go. This is a really important step because as I work further along in this series, I see how often I'm having to go back and lift the color off of the highlighted part. And so it's going to, in fact, I think in this video, you'll see me add more in after our first couple of layers. So I hope that you've got a decent page of watercolor paper that you can use, and if not, maybe consider using colored pencils. And the technique is going to be about the same. I would also start with my colored pencil with a white in the middle, just again to preserve that highlight, because that's what's going to make our yellows look so bright, is the fact that we've left a really nice light section there in the middle. It always surprises me how big a difference the highlights make, but they really, really do. And that's the difference between, I guess, a kid's coloring book page and one of ours, right? Is just that little extra highlight really makes it pop. And so, yeah, anyway, that's what we got. I do apologize, this video didn't release earlier on Sunday, and I have just been feeling kind of drug out the last 2 nights, and I fell asleep at 9 o'clock both nights, so I haven't been getting everything done that I would have hoped, but here we go. So this technique again is going to work whether you're using colored pencils or water-soluble watercolor, whatever it is. All of the color that I use in here is water soluble, and you can change it out with regular watercolor or markers or whatever. Just be careful that you have taken the time to take a piece of this paper you're using and take the medium that you're going to use, whether it be markers or colored pencils or what, and try your blending techniques on that scratch paper. If you guys have been in the Facebook group or whatever, you have seen I've got test pages for everything in this project. And so I know exactly how my watercolors are going to react with each other and with the paper, and that's an important bit of knowledge. So what I'm doing here on each leaf is I'm just adding my first color, which is I believe in the Arteza brush pen set, this is called Bumblebee Yellow. In Prismacolor, it would be similar to the canary yellow. And I can't think of anything else right now. So that's what we're going to go with. And I'm just leaving. I'm going to extra careful. I don't know why I can't talk today. I'm taking extra care to keep the color off of the middle, even though we can lift that out later. We're going to be adding a lot of color to each of these, and so it's really important that you know how your color medium is going to react with blending and such. Now, these Arteza pens are really, really nicely water soluble. They mix with each other beautifully. They mix with other water soluble mediums really well. So I happen to have the color I wanted to use for brown in my Tombow markers, and the yellows and the oranges I'm going to take from my Arteza brush pens. But again, you can really use any medium that you have that's water soluble. You don't have to use, like I'm going to use an aqua brush or a water brush where it has some water stored in the barrel, and you can just use that. I like that because it allows you to control the amount of water that you're using. Now there are tricks to that, and I think when I started out, I think mine was flowing too much, and so I had a lot of drippy stuff going on, and so you'll see me take it apart and put it back together and figure out something better. If you're having trouble with your water brush in that way, I would just grab a nice round brush and use just, dipping it in water. I like the control that I get with the water brushes, but if you don't have control over them, then they're awful. So just, make sure that you've tested all of your mediums before you start. Okay, so I have sped this up. There is a lot of repetition in this video, and it's packed to about an hour. Each time I start out with something new, I will slow that part down for a bit, and then we'll speed it back up. Otherwise, it will take us weeks and weeks on end to finish this. And, I've got other things I want to do with you guys. So, and I'm sure some of you are like, can we just get started with watercolor now? So here we are with watercolor. So once I get a little bit of yellow on each one of these leaves, I just wanted you guys to realize that, again, I work slowly to get these results. And so, you should take your time. It's not a rush. It's not a competition for time. We're just trying to really get into the zen of it, play some music or an audio book, and just zen out with putting the color on. I love adding color. I love moving it around. I just get the biggest kick out of this kind of thing. It just really, really relaxes me. Not everybody feels that way about color, but that's my feeling for it. And hopefully some of you will enjoy this, and maybe some of you won't so much, but, stretch yourself a little bit. It's not going to be for everybody, but I really think if you guys will try it and trust yourself through the ugly stages, which we are definitely in, and you'll see some of these small leaves, I'm not even able to leave the highlight out, but I have put white pencil in each of those, so I know I'm going to be able to lift some of that out. Now, it won't lift completely out, but there are a number of things you can do to help that if you get a little bit too overzealous with your colors. And I'm really having trouble talking today, so be patient with me. Much nicer. Okay, so now I'm going to change to my aqua brush. I call it an aqua brush, water brush, whatever you want to call it. It's the brush that has the water in the barrel. And this is where I'm noticing that I'm dripping. So if you're dripping out straight out, that's not something you want to use. And I don't know if you can tell that the water is really pumping out of there. So I've got something going on in the barrel of my brush. So first I'm going to push that back in, the part where the brush is, push that black piece back in and see if that helps. And if it doesn't, then I'm going to have to take this apart and see what's up. Make sure you've got a paper towel in your hand so that when you're working on each leaf, you're able to control that water. See? So I'm going to have to do something about this brush. See what's up with it. So one thing I frequently do if I'm having trouble with dripping is I'll change the barrel out. If you've got a set of these, I change the barrel out with one of the other ones that I've got and see if that doesn't help. And so, you know, again, if you can't get it to be controlled with the release of water, then you're going to want to try a brush with a dip setup. For adding your water and blending this. And all we're doing is we're trying to remove any of the harsh edges, right? We're going to blend up the color into the tips. Again, trying to preserve that middle highlight. But you can see I've almost covered it, and as I dab out the wetness, it's going to take some of the extra color, and everything that goes in over that white pencil we put in is going to be able to be removed, right? Or at least most of it. Like that. And as you go, you'll notice that your highlight gets much smoother around the edges, right? Now, I'm not scrubbing. I'm pushing down just a little bit to encourage the water flow. And then it's a matter of moving the pigment around. All I'm doing is taking that gob of yellow and sort of moving it around the edge where I want it to be. And this is done very gently. Most of this is just moving water around. Mari's slurping on something. So just push that pigment around, and then as soon as you put that in, then dab it off. If you feel like you've got too much in the center, like I just do, dab it off, okay? If you feel like there's still too much in there, you want to clean your brush off of all the color, and then put more water in over the colored pencil, and then dab that off. And as you go, you will continue to lift up some of that extra color, okay? See how nicely that works with the paper towel? And especially once the paper towel is damp a little bit from doing this, you know, anything that you've got on there that's just too much, you're going to be able to lift out, I think. At least for the most part. I think by the time I got done with the picture for this that you guys saw at the beginning, this area with the little curly Q up there on the high side or the low side or whichever side you're on, that section gets a little over pigmented. Meaning it's got a little too much color in there. But I still can make a really, like a point with a damp paper towel, and I can just gently rub the centers of those where the colored pencil was again, and take a lot of that off. So keep in mind that nothing is the end of the world. Even if it dries, we can re-wet it. That's one reason why I'm not using my Derwent Inktense pencils, because those, once they dry, they're not moving anymore. So sometimes there are reasons to choose the mediums that you like, right? And one of the things I love about watercolor is it's never forever, generally speaking, unless you're using the Inktense pencils. And so when you're working in layers, Inktense are great because you can put down a layer and know that it's going to stay the way you put it. But that's not always what you want. When you're blending a couple of colors like we're going to do here, and you'll see there's a lot of pigment and not a lot of space for highlights in here. But it's going to work out okay. And again, once we're done with all of that, then I'm going to go through and wet my brush and just sort of get my highlights all going and all of that. So that's the reason we use that white pencil, and we're going to use it again here in a minute. And thanks for understanding about the speeding up, or we'll never be done. So Oh, I think I forgot one there. Forgot a little leaf. Oh, see here. See here where the color is smeared a little bit. So I'm not rubbing, but I'm putting a little bit of water there, and I lift that color right out with a paper towel. Okay. Now some of you are really good with watercolor. You don't need me to tell you this stuff, but I needed somebody to tell me this stuff when I was starting out. So, you know, if this is boring for you, let me know in comments, and I will stop telling you stuff you already know. If not, then I'm just going to keep telling you stuff you already know. Then you'll be sure you already know it. So now I'm switching to orange. This is just a straight orange. And again, you can use whatever color medium you have. And I'm just going to run it around the base part against the stem. Okay, I'm not going to draw that up any further. The extra color I'm going to get with that is going to be able to be drawn up with the water brush anyway, right? So just a little bit down by the edge where it meets the stem. And that's going to be plenty of pigment for us to draw up and sort of make part of the whole thing, if that makes any sense. I don't know, I'm not thinking very sharply today. I hope you guys will have patience with me and still come back for the next one. And again, so this is rinse and repeat, right? Just around the bases on each leaf. Oh, I got that one in. That was sneaky of me. I didn't even see me do it. I'm being a little weird today. I'm not going to lie to you. Just a tiny bit weird. It's because I hang out with the puppy all the time, and he's definitely weird. Simba's having a big old nap at the end of the bed. Because it's Sunday, and that's what we do on Sundays, is we have naps. And we'll be fine as long as the puppy doesn't decide to wake him up. And I have a cute video for you guys that I'll stick at the end of this Zenders of Simba putting the puppy's head in his mouth. It's very cute. Come back at the end. It's what the Zenders get that you guys don't get. So I am still having issues with putting pictures in and getting them to look the way they actually look. So again, still with the overexposed, oversaturated stuff. And I try to get it as normal looking as possible, but it doesn't seem to be possible. So hang in there with me and know that how it turns out on the thumbnails for each video is closer to the way that it actually looks. I don't know why this program does it. It doesn't do that with my video, just with the photography stuff. So not rocket science, just dab in a little color along the edge. We'll grab the aqua brush and keep moving. Now I'm going to tell you guys that yell at me now that I miss a couple of these. So, and they will eventually be gotten with the aqua brush. There's a couple that I did not get blended immediately in this, but I do get them eventually. So, don't panic on me. All right, so let's get that aqua brush out. See where it takes us. Don't forget your paper towel before you get started. So now here the goal is to get these colors to mix, and this is one of the reasons why I want you guys to test this out on the paper that you're going to be using, and one reason why good quality paper is really important, because once I get done you can't see the lines on mine, but if your paper isn't quite as good quality, then the lines will never go away, you know, where you dab in your color. And so my suggestion for you, or my little hack, is you put the color, like for example, from your Tombow marker or your Arteza brush pen or your watercolor in a little, well, like you use for your watercolors, your little, what do you call that thing? Palette thing, yeah. So you just draw in on the palette with your Tombow marker, say, until you've got a good coat of color in there, and then you take your aqua brush in and you dab that color out and you put it on with your aqua brush. That way you don't have the lines on your paper that won't come away. Okay, so if you've tested your paper and tested it with the watercolor that you're going to use on there, then you should know whether or not adding color in this way is going to work for you with the paper that you have. So please practice that. Just do a little test page like I did, and sort of draw in your design, and you'll be glad you did, especially if you decide to, go out with your creative side and do things a little differently than me. I have usually tested what I'm going to do several times before I ever get it on camera. And so, if you're going to do that, you're going to want a test sheet that you can try your ideas on, okay? And I encourage you to do that. I think I did a version of this of this fall dance on a tile where I decorated the leaves like with striping and sparkles and things like that. And that was a lot of fun. You could also put little orbs in there. That's a lot of fun. So I'm not saying don't try extra stuff. I'm just saying you're going to want to try it someplace besides on your finished art piece, right? Or your art piece that's not quite finished yet. I really love the way this looks. I love the way these colors blend. And hopefully you guys are able to see how I'm handling this fairly well. I've gone ahead and sped this up. But I think you guys get the idea. It's the exact same technique that we were using before with the yellow. And the only difference here is that I'm going to go over that until that's nicely blended with the yellow that I've already got on there. And I'm also going to keep in mind that white spot on the top to keep that nice and clean. And again, if it gets all covered in orange or yellow, that's going to be fine. We're going to be able to wipe that off really gently later. So don't panic. This kind of painting, I could do it for hours. Just give me colors and tell me to blend them, and I'm just a happy camper. And that is one thing I love about Zentangle tiles, is you can put this kind of water on there all the time and go back later and put more water on there and they take it. I mean, it's supposed to be hot pressed watercolor paper, but I think it works just as well or better than cold press. I mean, now I'm not a watercolor artist other than, working on tiles, but the way that it accepts water and allows you to work with the water on the tile, I just think they're exceptional for water. So it's one of my very favorite things to use for watercolor. So clearly I was excited when they came out with a little bit larger phi tiles. Oh, and I completely forgot to thank Ellen from the Netherlands. Thank you so much for the set of Derwent Color Soft pencils. It's a portrait set, and I will have to show you on the next video what it looks like. It's a little tin of 6, so it's got a beautiful white pencil in there and some pinks and some more fleshy tan colors, and so it's just a lovely set. Thank you so much, Ellen, and I have been wanting to try those for a while now. It's one of the better types that I have not had the chance to try, so I thank you. That was the perfect number to send me too. So thank you, thank you. How do you say thank you in Nederlandish? Is Dutch? You guys speak Dutch, right? At least that's how we say it, right? I don't know. You guys educate me. I need education. a lot. See how nice that looks? Okay, we're going to fade out of that, and I will have finished up the blending, okay? So I'm going to go back with my white colored pencil again, all right? And I'm going to set this tile up and get it ready to add my stem color, and I am definitely going to want to add white colored pencil right up next to my stem so that I don't get watercolor bleeding all over my background, okay? Now I'm not getting on the ink right up next to it. And a decent amount. You'll see me go back and recoat that. It's not going to stop it from taking color. We just won't wipe the color off, if that makes sense. The color will still go into the paper, but as we did on the leaves, we don't. I'm not dabbing over them, right, to remove any pigment. So when we put the pigment on the background, then it's going to be fine the way it is. So this won't hurt is what I'm trying to say in my long-winded explanation. And now you can see up there on that little curly cue where I have forgotten to blend a couple of those, but I'll get there. Any spots where you can recognize that color bleeding could be a problem, that's where you want to get it. Now you don't need to worry about getting it around the edges of the leaves. The reason for that is because at the end, then I'm going to have you guys add your red micron color there. And since the microns are color fast, or mostly color fast, then that's a pretty safe place, right? So the watercolor can get in there, but it's not going to cause the ink to run, is what I'm saying. So I felt like that would be a good barrier between the watercolor and the outer edge. So I think with these precautions, it's going to turn out all right. And I have already, on adding this voiceover, I have already put in a background around the frame. And I think I may have mentioned in the last video that I'm now trying to decide what to do inside of the frame. So as of this minute, I have not done that because I've started to focus on getting these videos out to you guys. But that's still coming. Dun 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 dun. It'll be fun. Come on, it'll be fun. So these right here still need to be blended, I see. And in here, if you've got a place like mine where you've got the leaves all up next to each other, you really want to get a good coating of colored pencil on that. That wax from the colored pencil acts as a resist to the watercolor, and that will keep that from being a horrible mess in there, which it could be. I handled the watercolor background extremely carefully, so I'll show you guys how I did it, and yeah, it'll be fine. You'll be fine. The white pencil is the answer to your problems, so don't be stingy with it. Just get in there around the edges really good. It will, like I said, still take the color, so don't worry. And if you get it on your ink at all, don't worry. We can also use a pen to go over that. You'll just have to be careful and wipe off your nib so that it doesn't get that wax up in there. I think part of the most important thing about learning to be an artist is learning what your tools can do and what they can't do and how to use them to get the effects that you want. And so don't be afraid to get your stuff out and play with it and have a good time. And even if you make something that's really horrible at the end of it, you're going to know much more about what the equipment is that you've got and how it's going to work together. And before this project, I knew how my artisas worked together, and I knew how the tombos worked pretty well. What I wasn't sure about was the paper. I was pretty sure it was going to be awesome because it's Fabriano. And this, I did want to point out that this Artistico Aquarello block, it's not the same as the less expensive Fabriano Studios hot press watercolor paper that you get in the pads. That is absolutely acceptable for like light water situations and for cutting up into Zentangle tiles. Those are completely appropriate and wonderful to use for low-cost alternatives. Where they are different is putting a lot of color and then blending, and so that's why I wanted the 100% cotton. Any kind of watercolor paper that's 100% cotton is, chances are it's going to be an excellent quality paper, and it will be more expensive. But it really does make a difference if you're going to do a lot of watercolor. I found the Aquarello blocks were the right size for what I wanted, and the price wasn't too bad, even though it's really excellent paper since, you know, so it's not as expensive nearly as it would be to get 100% cotton, like say through Arches or something, the company Arches. So, you know, blah, blah. I'm just blithering today. So I think I started to say anywhere where you've got a lot of those little holes and they're all bumping up against each other, get plenty of pencil in there. Beautiful. There you go. All right, so next, it's time to get the Tombow out. Oh, yeah, I forgot. One of the things I'm going to do right before now, okay, one of the things I've got to do is to put a little highlighted line, or I'm going to put a little highlighted line on my stem just right down the middle of it. And so I don't know what all this bumpiness is about, but yeah, so that way I don't lose control of my highlight on the stems. And I can sort of control how dark they get. So we'll see how that all turns out. And chances are they probably will be lighter than I want them to, and so I may go back in later and darken them. But again, at that stage, I will use the technique that I just mentioned to you guys, putting my Tombow marker, marking it on a palette form or a glass dish or whatever you got, and just taking your aqua brush and scooping that color up like that and using it on the stem. That way you've got more control over your pigment. But, you know, so even if you're a person that does not care for Prismacolor pencils, you should still get yourself one white pencil and keep that for this kind of thing. I don't think I've ever heard any artist say that they felt like there was a different pencil that was better for this kind of work. And so, yeah, just whatever you think, though. I know people are very particular about their art supplies, and once they have a favorite, they have a favorite. And so, you know, do you. That's what I say, do you. All right, so now, let me find my Tombow and my paper towel. Okay, so this is just a light brown. It's kind of a, I don't know, it's got a little bit of orangey brown to it, but it's not a lot. So I'm going to take this on the, it's a Tombow, it's a dual brush pen. It's got a brush pen on one side and a little marker point on the other. And what I'm doing is running it along the right side. In my case, the right side, you can do whatever side you want, of course. I'm just running it along that one side of the stem. And then I'm going to come in with my aqua brush and just spread that out. It's another way to sort of keep your pigment under control. And the hint of orange makes it okay if I get a little bit on my leaf, so it won't be the end of the world. End of the world. Simba says hi to Jazzy. Yeah, I know, Simba. And to the kitty Groot. I like the kitty Groot. Hi, Dana. Hi, Karma and Lynn. Hi, Jazzy and Groot. And the knees one. The Pyrenees or the Burmese or the whatever knees. I don't know. Groot's friend. Groot's canine companion. So just take your time. The reason that I'm showing these partially slowed down and partially sped up is, so A, the video isn't an hour and 45 minutes, and B, so you guys know it does take time, but then, you're not pulling your hair out. And if you're anything like me, you don't want to pull any more hair out than you've already lost, so. It's not too bad yet, but I'm promising you, I'm not having a good time with that. And so all the little spots on your stem that aren't perfect, you see how little they matter now? And they're still not going to be perfect, but the whole thing together is going to be amazing, I hope. And when we get to the background, I think I told you guys on the last video, make sure that you let me do that for you so that you see how that's going to turn out before you do it yourself. I would hate to be the reason that you guys ruined your art piece, your ZIA. There. Ooh, that's a lot of pigment right there, Cyndee. I guess we're going to find out how that goes, huh? Don't add more, woman. Don't add more. It'll be fine. It'll be fine. Leave it. All right, this is the last one. I don't know why I'm singing bass still. No, I'm not thinking about that song. Stop it. But now I am, of course. It's all your fault. All y'all. Making me think about stuff I didn't want to think about. Yeah, it'll be all right. It'll be all right. Stop it. Leave it. Stop it. Okay, Now I'm going to grab my aqua brush and my paper towel and very carefully going to draw this color up onto the stem. And this moves beautifully. The tombos are also really water soluble, so they pigment and move beautifully when you add water to them. Now remember, some of this is very soft and sort of fuzzy looking, right? Once we add the edging on the leaves and the shading in particular will help bring this back into a more sharpened focus. So we'll have some of the fuzzy looking stuff, but we'll also have some sharper, more defined areas, if that makes sense to you. Now this is one that I remember wanting a little more pigment on. And you'll see me go back to areas where I feel like I've got a lot of pigment and go pick up that pigment and you know, spread it somewhere else. So I think that brown works really well. And it matches well enough to where when I've got the orange or yellow on the stem, then it's going to blend right in with those colors. So I'm not too concerned about those areas at all. See, like right here. Now notice how often I'm cleaning my brush off, right? That also helps keep your pigment under control. You don't want a big juicy brush full of pigment slopping off somewhere. So keep your brush, you know, pretty tidy. And if it gets overpowered by color, just dab it out with your paper towel. And that spot right there was full of yellow and orange. And it really, you can still tell if you're going to be picky about it. But that brown color really works well with both of those colors, and so it just sort of blends in. So I'm not too concerned about that color in the stem area. I probably will darken the stem a bit more later. All right, there I was looking for more pigment. And you can always add some with your pen if you're not getting enough. And like I said, if you're really worried about, you know, getting out of the lines, or if you're using a marker that's too big for your stem, just put the pigment on something else and, you know, dab it off with your water brush or your paintbrush, whatever you happen to be using. Yeah, all of this is just covered in watercolor here. But I really think it's going to be fine. Again, when I add the shading along that stem, that's going to help a lot. So, again, it'll be fun. We'll find out. Remember all those wobbly spots that was in that stem line back in the beginning? I do. Where it was all uneven from each other. You notice how that doesn't matter anymore? Just embrace the ugly parts, right? Embrace them, because it will be better. It will get better. And like I said, I'll probably put another coat of brown on there just to sort of, you know, keep the flow of the stems. I really liked the curls and such. Curls and curves. Bye, puppy. It was nice hanging out with you. He get so itchy in the winter. It's got dry skin. Yeah. I know somebody said they put hamburger grease or something on their, or fish oil or something on their kids' food. I need to do that. I just can't afford anything extra right now. Plus, we got to buy the kid Christmas presents, right? So you're going to see me go through here and now and re-wet the centers of these and really pull up some of that pigment that's on the highlighted portions, the portions that we put in with the colored pencil, or rather the white pencil. If you're going to be technical about it, and since I live with a very technical person, I have to be technical around here. Otherwise, I get corrected, and I hate that. Yes, I do. That may be a personal weakness, but I don't care. My thing is just, if you're 14 and you're talking to somebody who's lived, quadruple your years, maybe don't tell them they don't know what they're talking about. Just saying. Just saying. So some of those are pretty pigmented around there, like I mentioned earlier, and I'll keep working on them, but I'm not too concerned. It wouldn't be unusual for the color to deepen if we were talking about a real situation, so I'm not gonna trip about it. I think when we get the red edges on the leaves, that's going to perk things up. Now, I will warn you that I did record that part, I thought, but apparently the camera wasn't on again. So at the very end of the video, there's a picture of how it looks after I turned the video camera back on and realized that it was actually off. So, but I think you guys can, color. Take your red microns and just go in there and make a really pretty rim around those auras. And then we'll be, using our brown 01s or PNs or whatever it is we have in brown to sort of sharpen those up with shadows and such. So one thing at a time. Today we're doing the leaves. Next we'll be doing the background, however that happens to turn out. And then after that, we'll just be doing shading and touching up and any kind of fun finishing off things that we can think of to do is just going to be yours to do. But I think it's really important to care about the shading and such. It's going to make a huge difference, I think. And we'll just have to wait and see how it turns out. I need to date somebody that frames pictures for a living. Isn't that awful? I'm an awful person. I'm an awful person. Just saying. Matting pictures is hard. I interpreted a course for a deaf student once that had to do with picture matting, and I was like, wow, there's a lot of math involved in that. That was a lot. That was too much math for me. Wait, so how do you figure it out? Yeah, I didn't know. So that's what I'm doing. I'm going through here and taking the extra pigment out of the middles, sort of blending anything around the edges that looks kind of yucky. Make sure you keep your brush very clean when you're doing this kind of thing. But see, that bright spot does come back. I love the way that looks. I think that's going to be great. Well, that's not annoying. Home stretch. I don't think I'm going to do voiceovers anymore. I don't like them. I get bored and fall asleep. That was my big problem yesterday, is I kept falling asleep. That doesn't make for a very interesting voiceover. And certainly, you know, no information was shared. Except information about my well-being and fatigue factor. Been chasing dogs all over the neighborhood for a week. At some point, you just got to go, you know what? They know where they live. And they do. All right, so putting away the aqua brush, and it is time for so now I am reapplying my highlighting because this has been drying overnight, and I wanted to put more pigment on, add some more, deepen the colors and such. So I'm reapplying my pigment, or my highlight. If you guys don't want to add anything, if you're happy with the way yours is, you of course are welcome to stop at any time in the process that we're doing. A lot of people don't need to make it as in-depth as I do, and you know, that's cool. That is cool. As long as you're coming out with something that you're happy with, that's all I care about. But you just need that little spot of white. So I've coated a lot of that area in pencil now, both in the middle of the leaves and around the edges. So we're going to see what happens with the next amount, or with the next round of pigment. But I really, once this had dried, I felt like some of my colors had faded a bit, and so I just wanted to add a little bit more in. So that's my bumblebee yellow again. And in this instance, when you add the Arteza colors over themselves, they blend really well. So I actually enjoyed this process as well. But again, if it gets too crazy, I can lift that middle stuff on the middle out. I don't know. Some of those got a little bit more orange than I was hoping for. I really want to preserve that yellow. We'll see how it turns out. And I'm really attacking that orange color that's still in the base and sort of drawing that out. Instead of using my aqua brush for that, I'm using the yellow pigment. It just really depends on the situation and what you're using. This is soothing. I'm not even doing it and I'm soothed. See, this is why I had trouble falling asleep. Okay. We are winding down though, so you guys know we got 5 more minutes. And then you'll see the picture at the end where I've got all the red edges on. I'm sorry I did not get that on camera, but I figure you guys are pretty smart. You can probably figure out a red outline in there. I'm gonna have to use those Arteza brush pens a little bit more. I really liked blending with them. I have to come up with something else to use those for. See, this is where they got really pigmented. But remember, I put that extra layer of white on them, so I'm going to be able to lift a lot of that out. What are we doing? Is it a surprise? There we go. Oh, I'm adding a little bit more orange. Really, Cyndee? Don't you think that's got enough? Maybe not too much. Aren't you glad we're putting something that's not water soluble on the edges of these? That's a lot of color. Down here on the bottom, Cyndee, down here on the bottom. There you go. Good girl. It's really frustrating that I can't hear myself talking, huh? Just a little bit. Just like that. That first leaf is my favorite. I really love the way it looks. I shouldn't play favorites with my leaves, should I? They should all be as loved as the others. But they're not, no. So this is the way that I do the watercolors on here. Just layers, lots and lots of layers, lots of colored pencil, or rather white pencil, and lots of paper towels and water. So this is why I wanted to have you guys use a good quality paper. And if you don't, again, you can do colored pencils or just, you know, make some choices along the way that might be a little bit more friendly to the paper that you're using, and it's going to be fine. Whatever you come up with is going to be great. Because this would work with colored pencils just the same way. Just the blending wouldn't quite be as easy. But yeah. See, and I like the colors there. And even though we had some good color to begin with, I really like the added orange. Very nice. All right. Guys, thank you so much for doing this project with me. The next video hopefully should not be as long, but oh well, it might be, given the watercolor background part on that, but it's going to be great. We're going to have a fun, lovely piece of art when we get done, at least you guys will, and we're going to see what kind of experimentation I can get in trouble with. All right, so take a minute, check out the red leafed outlines at the end. even though it's a little overexposed and all that good stuff. I know that my original art does not look like that, so I'm not too stressed out about it. So don't be afraid to get your color in the middle of that. It's going to be okay. We can take a lot of it off. You don't need to worry. Just like that, right? I like watching painting. It's soothing. Couple more minutes. We'll be done. Someday today, we'll be done. Yep, that's all you need. Stop painting now, Cyndee. I said goodbye like 5 minutes ago. It's embarrassing. Okay, here it comes. All right, guys, thank you for being with me today. I'm going to see you in about a day and a half, okay? I'm just checking to see if these are dry before I put in my ink. Make sure your stuff is dry before you put your ink in, right? I'm using a 05 in red. You guys use whatever you have in red, and I will see you on the other side. Bye, guys. Thanks for everything.